Live. Okay, Chevra, Daf, Chaf, Beis, Amid Aleph. Chaf, Beis, Amid Aleph. We're going to begin once again from the Mishnah. From the Mishnah, everyone who's here, don't feel like you have to wait. You're allowed to eat while we learn. Here we go. Says the Mishnah. Sukkah, Hamid, Duvleles. Sukkah, that is Duvleles. Shalom Chevra. Rechaim. Sukkah Hamid Duvleles. A sukkah that is Duvleles. What does that mean? Rashi told us. Hold your horses, we'll see in a moment. Vishetzilasa miruba mechamasa. And one that has its shade more than its sun. Yesterday we said that Shetzilasa miruba mechamasa is explaining what miduvleles means. I a little bit jumped the gun. As you'll all see in a few moments, the Gemarah is about to talk about that. Kishira. Says the Tanakama here, you wanted a pen? Says the Tanakama, Rabbi Avi, I have a pen for you.
No.
Rabbi Schuster. Just his name is there.
You don't use a pen, because
Okay.
the second time you
there you
learn it, you erase the word.
So you just cross it off.
You don't make mistakes.
Just cross it off.
We don't make mistakes.
No, I make mistakes. They cross it off all the time. It's not a big deal. Kisheira. Says the Mishnah, live from Crown Heights, Rav Yossi, all the sukkahs that are already built. Hamu'ova kimin bayis. If the schach is thick like a house, even though you cannot see the stars, what is the halacha? It is ksheira. So that is your sukkah. It's actually not so thick, but here's a sukkah that they're pretending to be thick. Yossi, that's not thick, right? If Yossi, that's a joke. That's a joke. That's a joke.
Does this mean it's kosher or like a tchila?
It says ksheira.
Kosher generally means.
Good. We have to see. At the moment, it says kosher. So let's see. Says the Gemarah, and Chaver, you're allowed to eat and learn. Your Gemarah might get a little sushi sauce in it, but that's between you and your Gemarah. My miduvleles. What does miduvleles mean? Amar Rav. Opinion number one. Sukkah aniya. A sukkah that is ani. That is poor. A meager sukkah. What is a meager sukkah? You don't have a lot of schach. You have a lot of airspace. You do not have a lot of schach. So if you have a little bit of schach, says Rav, it's still kosher. Ushmuel Amar. Shmuel says an interesting case. Kana oile v'kana yoyrid. A beam up and a beam down. So here's the picture of kana oile v'kana yoyred. There you go. As you see, it's basically two layers of schach, and one is on top and one is on the bottom. Now, what exactly this has to do with anything? What's the chiddush? What's Shmuel teaching us? We'll see in a moment. Two opinions in what miduvleles means. Says the Gemarah, Rav Tani Chada. Rav learned the first case in the Mishnah as one case. We'll explain what that means in a moment. Ushmuel Tani Tarti. And Shmuel learned two cases. What does that mean? Let's look back in the Mishnah. The Mishnah read, Sukkah Hamid Duvleles, and then the Mishnah continued, Vishetzi Lasa Meruba Mechamasa. Is that line, Shetzi Lasa Meruba Mechamasa, is that a new case? Or is that explaining what miduvleles means? Is there two cases in the first part of the Mishnah? Case number one, miduvleles. Case number two, shetzilasa miruba mechamasa. It has more shade than sun. Is that two cases or is that one case? Says the Gemarah, that's the machlokes. Rav, you see it? You can come sit here. Rav Tani Chada, if you want, I could turn it so you don't have to be in the camera. There you go. Right, listen, you got dressed tonight. Baruch atah Adonai, Yelinu melech haolam she'akol niyeh v'dorei.
Amen.
Rav Tani Chada Ushmuel Tani Tarti. Rav learned the first case in the Mishnah is all one case, and Shmuel learned it is two. The Gemarah explains. Rav Tani Chada. Rav learned it's all one case. The Gemarah explains. Sukkah miduvleles, a sukkah that is miduvleles. My miduvleles. What does miduvleles mean? Miduladeles. which according to Rav, what does that mean? We know already. It means poor. It means ani. It means dal. Dal means poor as well. So Rav says it's a poor sukkah. What is a poor sukkah that is still kosher? Shetzi lasa, that the shade is meruba mechamasa is keshera. So Rav is saying, 1 second, if you have not a lot of schach, but the resultant is more shade than sun, that's the litmus test if it is kosher. If you have not a lot of schach, but you have too much sun, then Rav is going to say it's possible. But if you have not a lot of schach, midul leles, midul deles, aniya, not a lot of schach, but the resultant is still enough shade, according to Rav, that is kosher. Let's say Shmuel, and then we'll speak it out again. Ushmuel tani tarti. And Shmuel learned 2 cases. My miduv leles. What does miduv leles mean? Mivul veles. So my Gemarah says on top of mivul veles means staggered. Staggered. Which Shmuel already taught us is this. This is staggered. There it is. That is staggered. The case that you have these 2 layers of schach, kana oile, kana yared. Now, what exactly is this kana oila, kana yared? Vitarti katani. And the Mishnah is teaching us 2 cases. Case number 1, sukkah mivul veles is kshera. If you have a sukkah with this scattered, thank you. The words are not working tonight. Staggered, not scattered. If you have scattered schach, then you're talking about Rab. Thank you very much. Staggered, then it's kosher. And what's the second case? Says Shmuel, vishatz vitzi lasa meruba mechamasa. And the second case is if it has more shade than sun. What's clear according to Shmuel? In the first case, in your staggered schach, in this case, how much shade is there? Not more shade than sun. Because if in this case there was more shade than sun, if in the case of the staggered it was more shade than sun, then it's all one case. Says the Gemarah, according to Shmuel, it's 2 cases. Now what is the, why, what, how, when, what are the 2 cases? So Rashi over here explains that Shmuel's chiddush is, when you have these 2 layers of schach, we view it in the world of halacha as if it's all one layer. We view the top layer as if it falls down, goes in and fills up the gaps, and then it's all connected. So even though in actuality, when I sit inside this sukkah, how much shade is there? Not a lot. Not a lot at all. Why? Because there's big holes in the schach. But in halachic eyes, we view it as if there would be shade, and that's kosher. So according to Shmuel, there's 2 different dinim being taught in the Mishnah. According to Rav, there is 1. According to Rav, there's 1 yesod in our Mishnah. What's the 1 yesod in our Mishnah? How much schach do you need? More shade than sun. That's the yesod according to Rav. What is the case of more shade than sun? More shade than sun. How much schach do you need to have more shade than sun? As much schach, with more shade than sun. According to Shmuel, what's going on? No. 2 different dinim. And according to Shmuel, you have a massive chiddush in the Mishnah. You have number 1, the din you have need to have more shade than sun. And number 2, you have this chiddush that when you have these staggered schach, we view the top layer as if it falls down, covering the bottom layer, even though it doesn't, and it's going to be as if it is equal, as if there is not shade and sun, and that is going to be kosher.
So why did the Mishnah say sukkah medublela as kshira?
According to Shmuel, you're asking, good. According to Shmuel, that vav always means one of 2 things in the Hebrew language, which is why it's so confusing. And, or. So Shmuel learned it's or. In English, the way that Shmuel would read the Mishnah, a staggered sukkah or a sukkah with more shade than sun is kosher. According to Rav, the Mishnah is totally different. A sukkah with not so much schach that at least has more shade than sun is kosher. 2 ways of learning the Mishnah. We're going to read one more line. We're going to read one more line just because it's Thursday. Amar Abaye. I have no clue what Thursday has anything to do with reading one more line.
Okay.
I just figured it makes sense. Lo Ishanu, says Abaya. Ella. Abaya is going within Shmuel, within this staggered sukkah, within this pretend schach that we're lowering down. Says Abaya, Lo Ishanu, Ella she'ein bein, that there's not between zeh lo zeh, this layer and that layer, shloisha tfachim, 3 tfachim. Aval, however, yesh bein zeh lo zeh, if there is between the two layers, gimel tfachim, psula. What is 3 tfachim? Lavod. 3 tfachim in the eyes of halacha is we're allowed to view a gap of 3 tfachim as if it does not exist. So explains Abaye, when Shmuel viewed these 2 layers of schach as if it was one, it's only if the space in between was less than 3 tfachim. If the space was more, then it will be puzzle. Rava argues, we're not going to learn Rava tonight. It is late, and let's go. Let's read Rava. Amar Rava, we have 1 more minute. Amar Rava. Rava argues on Abaye. Afilu yesh bein zeh lezeh shleisha tfachim. Even if there are 3 tfachim, nami also lo amar, and we do not say ela she'ein bigagoi tefach. Only if the gag, the roof, is not a tefach. Avol yesh. We're just going to read the words. It's going to be Chinese. Then we're going to look at the picture, and it's going to be beautiful. Avol yesh bigagoi tefach. But if there is in the roof literally a tefach, kishira, then it's going to be kosher. Why? The amrinan, because we say a different halachic principle. Chavot rami. Chavot rami. Lower and I've written down here, lower and cast. It means that we allow it to collapse. And with this we conclude, so we'll have time for Chazara. This is the picture. Very hard to, turn it the right way. This is the picture in Rava. Says Rava, if the space between the 2 of them is 3 tefachim, but the beams themselves are a tefach, an entity that is a tefach will allow to be lowered even if it's higher than 3 tefachim, utilizing the halachic principle of chavot rami. Now, what exactly is this halachic principle, chavot rami? A little bit complicated. We don't have time to talk about it right now. Just wanted at least to understand the machlekes Abaye and Rava. We will go more into Rava, getting more clarity what exactly Rava is saying. But for now, let's go and let's do a beautiful chazara in the 3 minutes that we have.